last bit of the story is like a Rune Goldberg machine of cruelty and distress. It's like spirals at, it's like Final Destination level. Like, what are we doing here? What it was, and it's so fast. You're like, I can't hold them. Hi, I'm Gabe.
And I'm Kay.
And we're the Ghouls Next Door.
Next Door.
Talking about spooky stuff.
Sad stuff.
Spooky, sad stuff. Like the history and present and future of America.
Yeah. It's a real...
What a country, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the Ghouls Next Door media literacy show from a horror lens where we explore the real life, historical, psychological, cultural influences behind our cinematic fears. And we are closing out our It Is Written series with one of my all-time favorite writers. I'm so glad that we're covering him. His work spans, it's horror, and each one is so unique and exciting, and he definitely has this real love for the genre, and he's made a space for himself there. And so we're talking about Stephen Graham Jones.
Yeah, and he's written a lot of books. Like, I feel like Hamilton quotes are like the worst thing to put in the same sentence as him because AO America,
right?
But like writes like he's running out of time. Like writes a lot of book, and like it's gonna keep going, and we're all very excited about it because it's just like, please keep writing so much. The storytelling is just like crazy. I've only read 2 of his books, and I plan to expand upon that. So
yeah,
because I think there's like 32. It's a bunch, which is like 10. Fantastic.
So
10 is a lot out of the 32. 2 to 10 is like a big difference.
yes. And that there's always more. Like I'm always like, there's another one on my list. There's another one on my list. Each one is so different. It's a journey. Also of like Stephen King, who's written a lot of horror.
Yeah.
And he does a decent job of really, weaving these worlds together and making his like, putting his spin and his like brand on horror. And Stephen Graham Jones is the same thing with his stuff.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And he just is brutal. Like so brutal. And I have a love-hate relationship with Stephen King just because I'm always like, you should just also read other things, I think there's a time and a place for Stephen King, totally. Don't hate on it.
He just takes a lot of the spotlight, absolutely.
He does. And so I'm just like, okay, step to the side. And I think there's a lot that we have found in the authors that we've decided to cover in this series. It's so evident that with this wealth of cultural history and influence, we can really like elevate and transform these stories into something like insane, right? Like that's not to like, knock at anything Stephen King's doing. I think he does great in what he creates, right? Like the worlds he creates and the things that he explores, like psychologically. There's a lot about just like human nature and what happens when we're up against,
I still think
forces.
About The Long Walk. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's things that like are really done quite brilliantly. Like he gets to the nitty gritty of humans. And then you have these writers like the folks we've talked about, River Solomon, Mariana Enriquez, Tanana Reeve-Du, and now Stephen Graham Jones, who take that plus, right? Like it's, yes, we have all of these things that make people complicated and that you like both hurt for and judge, just like feel for throughout this story. But then on top of that, they have these very specific lived experiences because of where they come from, because of their ancestry, because of how the world views them and treats them, and just kind of the mountains that they have to climb to get to the same space that some of the main characters you're going to encounter in a King story just aren't even privy to, right? Like, he just isn't writing those stories. And I think that's great. I think he should stop including people of color when he talks about them in certain ways. But that's why I'm like, these are so phenomenal and just really creative. And Stephen Graham Jones is just, I love him for things where I just really need a good horror story. Like I've read the whole Angel of Indian Lake series, which is like a horror lover's horror story. It's a slasher for a slasher lover. I've also read like his short stories and ones that get adapted. So like in one of the short stories, Mongrels is teased in there, and then later is developed into a larger piece. And I just read The Babysitter Lives, and I read it like over the summer last year, and I couldn't put it down. I was like, what is happening? And I had no idea what to expect, and I still don't even fully understand. Like I'm like at the end, I'm like, what? And I was genuinely scared. So like for those, I'm there for it. And then there's another lens of like the only good Indians, which we'll talk about, and Buffalo Hunter, and Mongrels, which have also like history and culture and very specific like Indian lens to it that I think you get more than just horror from.
And it's like there's also, I guess, like similar to River Solomon, it's like a poetry to how it's written too. Like his voice is like very poetic and like makes everything hit so much harder, which is, he's also teaching history in there in like this poetic, beautiful way. So it's just another I love to see it kind of thing. I was just like really happy the entire time reading it, which is like, I mean, horrible things are happening and obviously big emotions, like crying did take place, but like it was also just like, wow, this is just like also beautifully written. And it's just like, the poetry of the horror is a nice pairing that I was really happy about.
His prose is beautiful. And then there's, on top of that, it's very accessible and like friendly, right? Like we're in this together. Like I feel like this is somebody telling me a story. And like a real person is telling me this story. And I don't feel authentic, like a second, like I'm not, a narrator. Right? Instead it's just like, no, this is a person who's been there, done that. Like I believe them. And he has to do a very, like, almost like a guilty comedy. Like, he makes light of things, and you're like, bruh, that's exactly how I handle every situation. So I gotta laugh too. Yeah. And, like, some of that, like, insanity of, like, people reacting and, like, having these, like, absurd thoughts in the midst of, like, pure terror is so relatable.
Yeah, the intrusive thoughts.
And it gives you that levity. It gives you that levity for the situation, because he really, like, he's not nice, to be honest. Like none of his stories are
like nice. A lot of horrible things happen.
People are dying.
Yeah, no,
like if you pick up a Stephen Grant Jones, people are dying. And he's and
in like upsetting ways. Like not just like a regular oops gone. Like ow. Yeah. A lot has happened to this person in graphic detail that I wasn't maybe prepared to experience. But should have.
And I cared about them.
I was warned. Yeah, and I cared about them even if they were flawed. And I was like, oh, I wish you didn't do that. But also I get why. And
like
very human. Like, you just like feel.
Even if you just met them like 5 minutes ago, it's like, ow, that was my new best friend. How dare you? There's still like, there's a character death that happens at the end of the Angel of Indian like trilogy that I'm still like bitter about. Because I'm like, I get like, it's a slasher. And, you get to the third of the installment and no one is safe. And it is like a danger thing. But I was so sad. I was like, why'd you have to do that? Like, you didn't have to.
I didn't read it, but I believe you.
I was just like,
the sadness.
And so, he like, no one is safe. And I think in a way that's a little different, where he's not giving us this alternate world like we saw with some of the folks where there's like a good ending and hopeful ending. Yeah. It's just like shit happened.
A retribution of sorts. Yeah.
Man, that's fucked, right?
Yeah.
Stephen Grant
Jones. It was an interesting pairing too of Buffalo Hunter and The Only Good Indians too, because they both had a kind of like calm after the storm. We're like still sad, like ow, but like you're like, okay, well at least retribution and something is happened.
Like a bittersweet kind of thing. Yeah.
So like if those pairing, like I feel like if we read one of them plus the one you just described, then it maybe would have felt different too, because it was like they would have had such different endings.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a way that he writes like dialogue that I'm really interested in, like kind of gets me into it. And it is like whenever I do read one of his books as an audiobook, he is the only it's so embarrassing. He's the only like author that like when it gets to the ends and they're doing all their acknowledgements and they're like, thank you to this, I will listen. I'm sat and I'm listening to Stephen Grant Jones just talk to me about people that he's thanking. And it's just like the way that he's got such a calming voice and the way that he like flows through it. And he's just like, in this, and I want to get this done if it wasn't for that. And I'm just like, yes, like it's nothing of substance really for me, you know, like it's not changing how I read this book. It's not doing anything, but I'm just like, I could listen to this man for like ever. Like read me a bedtime story.
But I will say one last thing about the audiobooks though, because it was like the audiobook specifically for Buffalo Hunter Hunter was so good because they had like the different voice actors, and then they also like brought in like audio effects like at the end that made it like feel so much more like real and stressful. So like that
she's
was
like moving
really
around
cool.
with her laptop and then she's on the thing.
Yeah, it's like changing to recorder, and then like the grandpa's it was really cool. And I was kind of blown away by that because you get a lot of audiobooks where it's just a person reading flat. So it was cool to see like the extra care went in. So I would recommend reading it as an audiobook if you're like me and struggle to read with paper. But also it was just really good.
I do also usually recommend or prefer audiobooks when there's language, right? Like if there's like language I don't know.
To know how to say stuff the right way.
And then I can hear it authentically, you know, like when I was reading the Iron Widow series, it's like I don't know if like my brain would have read like win-win as a win. You know, like I don't know if I would be able to pronounce
so hearing
the way
it
that, like,
is helpful.
What's happening for me. And in the same with this, like the Gunny, and especially in The Only Good Indians, there's that. And he even was like, I don't even know some of these words. I had to look them up. And I'm like, I love that. Like you learn that if you sit there and listen to him talk to you about his process. Does he have a podcast, Stephen?
He probably does, to be honest. His website had a lot of information that I didn't see a podcast on there, but I bet you he loves to write his thoughts. He might like to say them as well.
He should. Maybe he doesn't know that his voice is amazing. And his brain. So thank you, Stephen. We're going to hop in because I got two great books to tell you about. And I'm really glad. So originally when we were going to cover this, my pitch to Kay was The Only Good Indians, because that's like one of his very well-known books. And I also was like, Kay's going to eat this up because it's got a lot of history in it and culture, folklore. So I was like, this is going to be a really great like Kay contribution. And then we have Mongrels, which is one of my all-time favorites of his. I just really love the Honest Family like dynamics, and I just felt like I was there. And it just spoke to me in a very specific way. I definitely want to like reread it and, you know, give it its flowers at some point. But that was my original pitch. And then last year he came out with Buffalo Hunter Hunter, and I was struggling to get my hands on a copy. Finally bought one from a local shop. And when I read it, I was like, okay, full stop. Like this kind of changed my life a little bit.
Yeah,
I have to like, I was like, Kay has to read this. I was like, I would be such a disappointment of a producer if I did not get this in your hands.
No.
So,
I mean, I finished it 5 minutes before we started recording, and I do agree my life has been changed. So it is a really great book.
Yes, it'll haunt you forever. And I think The Only Good Indians too, like haunting.
Yeah.
So let's start with The Only Good Indians, which is from 2020. Stephen Graham Jones is a griot for the outcasts, the deadbeats, and those of us trying to get by. He writes about flawed people, real history, and supernatural beasts in a way that feels like it's all happening right outside, right now. We chose two of his more famous works to cover in this episode, but I needed to be known that I am a true SGJ fan. I try to read a couple of stories every year, and I'm always delighted to see his worlds build up from darkness and rubble. The characters in his stories aren't good people, but they're not bad either. They're simply people, in all our rugged intricacies and visible mendings.
It's almost like it's not an inherent thing.
Right.
And that all choices have good and bad.
Yeah, we're complex. And he just gets that. It's so good. Like, you could be mad at someone and also be like, but do they deserve that? Some of us, literally. Yes. Some of the characters, they did deserve that, actually.
I can think of one in the book I just read.
I know. I can't wait to hear. So The Only Good Indians is a heartbreaking, relentless story that leaves bright red scars. It is a story of bleak history, gory mistakes, folklorish retribution, and the weight of surviving each day as it comes. If The Only Good Indian is a dead Indian, then this book has a lot of really bloody good Indians. Right? He got that title playing on that like turn of phrase that's kind of heard in a lot of like Westerns and that kind of wild, wild west scene, right? Of this idea of like, they are the enemy. And so he kind of twists that on its head. The Only Good
Yeah,
Indians
he's
is
like, if you're
about...
gonna be gross.
Huh?
He's like, if y'all are gonna be gross, I'm gonna take this back.
Right. Yeah, okay. Well, that title also is really well for Buffalo Hunter Hunter.
Yeah.
He references it in a way. So, but The Only Good Indians is about 4 people, guys, friends, Indians, and each one trying their best, however that looks for them. These 4 Blackfeet teens tried their hand at being the heroes of Thanksgiving, hunting on grounds off limits, only reserved for elders, and near the end of the season. The day spells out all the ways they should be warned away from this decision. So there's like several instances of their truck getting stuck. There's a fear of like a stern reprimand from an elder. And there's more. Like there's so many of like these red flags littered along this path.
Like take the signs from the universe.
And they're like, oh, just gotta try harder. You know, nothing deters these boys. And they press on and they get lucky as hell. A whole herd of elk becomes their desperate plea for notoriety and for respect. This feeling of worthiness, the weight that propels them forward into a frantic, graphic reign of terror on the herd. And this is their Thanksgiving classic, they call it.
Yeah, what a lesson.
Only it's not the magical life-meaning event they dreamed it would be. In fact, it's horrifying and wasteful. After being caught by the game warden, they have to leave the corpses of all these elk that they just massacred, including a young elk and her brutalized half-born calf that's like born out of the viscera of being murdered. Now it's 10 years later and our Thanksgiving hunters are being hunted. First, we lose Ricky in a brief but tense altercation outside a bar. The hunter is revealed in shadows and desperate acts of survival, an elk-head woman or Ponoka. Next is Lewis with the unfortunate name, Lewis Clark, living off the res with his wife, his white wife, PETA. That's important. His interactions with Ponoka is worse, I think, even than Ricky's, because Ricky's end was like brutal, but it was at least quick, right? Where Ricky...
Yeah, and he had like more dignity at the end.
Yeah, he was fighting.
Like,
he went out fighting. And it was like unfortunate. It was like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the headline too, right? Like Indian beat to death outside a bar. Like it was a run of the mill unfortunate situation. Lewis on the other side, right? So where Ricky faces down the darkness of stereotypes and violent prejudice, Lewis is assaulted by insanity, the horrors of paranoia, guilt, and a yearning for home. And then lastly, there's Gabe and Cassie, whatever he is this week, whose last bit of the story is like a Rune Goldberg machine of cruelty and distress. It's like spirals out. It's like Final Destination level. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
And it's so fast. You're like, I can't hold them.
How'd they get there?
Who's that now? And then you turn around. It's like you're there.
Yeah.
Like as like a reader, you're in that spot where like it's just chaos and there's no, like, you don't know who to trust. Everyone's dissolving into like hysterics and just like no one trusts each other and no one knows which way is up and it's rough. And it's brilliant, but it really is like a Final Destination of like, why was that? And that is over there. And who's that?
Yeah. No,
like, how dare you?
All these things set up to one another. Yeah.
The
coin fell in the pool. Now
and exactly.
Like, you're like, what do you mean?
You're like, no one is safe. No one is safe. The whole time you're like, maybe this one's gonna get it.
Yep.
Jones is the Only Good Indians warns us against leaving things in the past. Onoka comes for each of these boys seeking retribution. It is a violent and breathless dark comedy in that brilliantly funny but guilty way that Jones is so good at. Like you laugh and you're like, why am I laughing? Especially Lewis.
Yeah.
Because he was doing like crazy stuff. Like he was unhinged and you're feeling for him because you're like, why did you do that? And then he's like making jokes to himself, or he's like Lewis is a very fun character because he felt really relatable. And he's talking about his books and I'm like, boy, what is going on? Like you do crazy
I mean, if
stuff.
you're gonna lose your mind, at least be a little funny along the way, you know?
And he is. He's like, here you go. But The Only Good Indians is an onslaught of bad decisions stacked on desperate ones, and no one comes out the other side in one piece. So my review for it is The Only Good Indians is heavy and depressing as fuck. I would never sugarcoat SGJ's work. Having read 10 of his books now, I can promise you he lacks a sweet tooth. It's not there. And when I read him, I know it's going to hurt. like a lot. And the only good Indians
Yeah.
hurts like hell because you really truly feel for these boys who are now men, generally doing their best, and at the very least, not their worst. Like they could have been worse. And they say that, you know?
No, yeah. And a lot of it's like not entirely their fault.
Yeah.
Like it's all like systemic, circumstantial things that kind of stack on top of each other with this bad choices and bad decisions.
Of kids. Like they were young, you know, and they had big shoes to fill in a place where like those shoes are really important to be wearing, you know?
Yeah.
And I really understood their desperation behind the Thanksgiving classic of needing to feel bigger and more important than they are allowed to. They make a youthful, violent, bad decision that comes at them just as fiercely. And it pissed me off a little bit, I'm not going to lie, because if Elkhead women could be stirred to life by a brutal, senseless act of violence, then where is the herd of Elkheads coming for the settlers and the colonists that murdered them in droves? It's a sadly misguided vengeance that was assault and a very large bleeding wound, and that's the entire point.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like she's twisted up. She's fighting at them, and I'm like, where's the other vengeance?
Yeah.
Like, you're in the wrong place. Which I think is Buffalo Hunter Hunter kind of satisfied that a little bit for me. Like I got a little bit more of that retribution, and it was definitely not misguided. It was right on track. But each of these guys was navigating their proximity to the res and to the weight of expectation as an Indian before their death. So Ricky was running from the res, hoping to find work despite of and because of his Indianness, right, of being known for their strength and hard work, but also for their desperation and pliable nature, right? They can be taken advantage of because they're trying to get by, and so they can work under the table, they can be let go, they don't get as many benefits. There's just this idea that we can they don't have a choice. Yeah, like we can discard them when we're done. And that's kind of like Ricky's whole thing. He's like working against that. But also he's like, I'm gonna leave before you discard me. Which is like, how he's operating in this world. But he's trying to leave the res. Lewis, in his last desperate act, is running home after having fought through his inner turmoil, his biracial marriage, and his conflicted sense of self. Like him not feeling fully Indian or feeling like he had left that behind. And I do want to say, using Indian, I know the term is like Native peoples or indigenous, but SGJ is using Indian in this story, and he does talk a lot about, especially, I think it's Gabe who mentions it, where he's just like, that's all we ever knew was Indian, and he sings this little lullaby. Mm-hmm. He's like, but now the new age is this thing. So they get to decide. So I do not. Yeah. So Cass and Gabe are still there on the res, and doing their versions of their best. Right? Cass is trying to establish himself, finding love and working hard, while Gabe gets through the days. The shadows of his spunky youth always hovering above him. He's like, they keep going back to him as being this like true, like gung-ho kind of Indian, where they're always like, he's the one who's like going to get into a bar fight. He's the one who's going to fight you. He's the one who's like hooting and hollering, and he's just this pure, vibrant energy. And now he's old, now he's older, and he's just like, he's drinking his beers in his car, and his daughter can't talk to him. And, he only gets to see glimpses of her at her basketball games. And then Cass is just like he's trying to fit into the mold. And it's a thoughtful glimpse into a very real existence on the res, that small town gossip where you become the stories of your youth. Cautionary tales now grown and trying to survive. Like I think of how Denora, Gabe's daughter, knew a lot of the stories of their youth, and they were almost like they were like notorious. They were like known for that. Like those were concrete who they were forever now.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of the Buffalo Hunter because it's like there's good stab, then there's takes no scab. Yeah. It's all defined by your actions. So, like, the fact they were notorious kind of influenced their identity, even if their names didn't reflect it.
And the names kind of did, right? Like, there's, like, a dismissive quality to Lewis. Like, the one, I forget the boy's name, but he's just, like, Lewis Clark. Like, they, like, scoff at him for that unfortunate name, but there's a reason why he got that, right? And Cass changing his name constantly. And then just, like, Gabe's, like, aura having a lasting effect forever. But there's another in this story of failed masculinity, Denora. So Denora is the daughter of the misguided and reckless Gabe, and she's a talented basketball player who's going to not only make a name for herself, but the whole damn res. Hell, for all of Indian kind. They're putting that all on her shoulders. And she's tangled up in this mess as the calf of someone who wronged Elkhead of Ponoka. Inheriting the sins of her father. She is literally fighting against generational trauma, and she breaks it with her compassion, which is the best part, right? She fights back through cunning, understanding, and through her sick skills on the asphalt, which is like, it's a heartbreaking in that ending. And she's looking at, her other dad. And I just felt so much for Gabe in that moment too. I was just like, he was just, he was trying.
My mom's just a girl. My dad's just a guy,
Right. And she loved him in the way that she could, but she also was like, this is my dad, and he showed up. It was sweet. And she was like, no, this is
we're going to change.
Just like, stop, everybody stop. We don't have to do that. Don't have to do that. It's the future. We're going to hurt our way through healing. So Only Good Indians is about regular people, but it's also about a history of violence that has infected this country's soil. We talk about that a lot on the show, because Ponoka is a supernatural force of retribution that is a long time coming and a long time learned. Her violence at times pales in comparison to the history of colonialism towards elk and humankind alike. And Ponoka is a few centuries too late on a warpath, righteously so, against those who have harmed her. And it's her choice of victims and perpetrators, for sure, they're definitely guilty, that spins this story. Like, when that scene, like, when they are doing the Thanksgiving classic, is really brutal. And it's, like, horrifying. And it makes me think, like, what kind of person are you if you can do that? And I think that's important. It is significantly less painful than the Buffalo Hunter.
Yeah.
It was a walk in the park.
No, absolutely.
In comparison to Buffalo Hunter. I saw this review by Maria Haskins on this novel where she says, Jones pursues the idea of colonialism as psychic parasitism further, with the elk taking in the lessons of human violence and learning to revisit it themselves. In this way, colonialist violence becomes a cycle that threatens to suck family after family, animal after animal, down the drain, siphoning off those like Lewis, Cassidy, Gabe, Denora, and anyone else who might live a worthwhile life in spite of centuries of genocide, Indian wars, forced marches, language loss, and so much more. The violence of colonialism, it threatens to turn victims against one another, decentering responsibility for it, moving it off camera. Who's the enemy now? That's what she says. And I feel like The Only Good Indians feels much like a bloody and raw appetizer to Jones's Buffalo Hunter, which is a hearty meal of colonialist critique and dark history. It's like, you thought you knew about America. Or you knew you didn't. You knew you didn't know about America. And I'm going to tell you.
It's like so intentionally made too, where it's just like a lot of our history has been intentionally erased or not taught. So.
Right. And that's why I think like it is very intentional that he frames it in a recent history, right? That someone from our current day is finding something from the past and having to like relive it, and that we hear it and like experience it firsthand. I think having the bookends of bringing it to now is essentially what he's doing with this book, right? He's bringing this history to us now. So let's talk about the Buffalo Hunter, which came out in 2025. It does historical horror so insanely right. It's gritty and gruesome in its historical retellings. The most horrifying moments, scenes ripped from the pages of history books, literally ripped because so much of the truth is removed from them.
That part,
talked about that many times, right? They took it out and he was like, I found this. I found that you put this in the wall. I found it. I promise you've never read a vampire novel like this. SGJ offers a new spin on an old classic with the sunlight-sensitive good stab, takes no scalps, who takes on a few extra quirks for his vampirish nature. So the Buffalo Hunter is a story told through time, starting with Etsy Beaucarn, a descendant of Lutheran pastor Arthur Beaucarn, who comes into possession of his long-lost journal. And in an attempt to connect her life to something meaningful, she's like, I'm failing forward. She dives into his journals, hoping they weave an important tale of history, and boy, do they. Maybe not the one she wanted. Not gonna get her out of that
where
hole.
It's like, oh, my ancestors sucked.
Right?
Ow.
I shout out to Etsy though, because she could have taken the white woman way out of that. Of like,
run from accountability.
Slavery was 400 years ago. You know, like she could have like, that's my ancestors, not me. She ain't doing that. She's like, sorry. You know what? My bad. It's not even me, you know? Arthur Buchan is a seemingly kind man in 1912's American West in Montana. He's lived a long and storied life that led him to a small town for his parsonage, and something sinister is afoot here because there are exsanguinated bodies popping up, and a strange visitor lays out a troublesome confession. Arthur begins meeting with the black-robed Peconi Goodstab, who shares his life's dark tale dating back 40 years. And he's like, you look pretty young for having lived all of that. This ain't adding up. After a run-in with a cat man in a cage that leaves him in all meanings of the word dead, but he does come out the other side forever changed, more creature and all the things he hates than Peconi at this point. This is Goodstab telling his confession, right? If the only good Indian is a dead Indian, as we explored in his book of the same name, then Goodstab is one bad Indian. As he says, what I am is the Indian who can't die. I'm the worst dream America ever had. Goodstab's confession will have you on the edge of your seat. While a hefty read, it is a breezy one because you cannot put it down. You really got to know what's going on. It's like, it's beefy.
Yeah, it might have been the fastest time I read a book. If it's really long, because it didn't feel long.
You can't.
Yeah, no. At no point was I like, "Wow, this is taking too long." I was like, "Oh, it's almost done." What?
Right. Yeah, and it's comparable to Our Share of Night and
Look at me read this year. Oh, sorry,
doing it. No, it's good. Well, Goodstab is a guide. His life is a guided tour through America's dark history, sprinkled with supernatural terror and tragedy. My review is that SGJ has a knack for transforming folkloric monsters we've grown accustomed to, twisting them into a new, sympathetic, and terrifying creature, something entirely of his own making. He did this in Mongrels, the sometimes funny, most often dark, familial story about werewolves and ancestry. Definitely one of my favorites of his novels. And he's done it again in The Buffalo Hunter, now with vampires. His vampires are rare and depressing. The unkillable nature, a curse rather than an evolutionary advantage. Like, please kill me. Oh, this sucks. I don't want to be here. And he takes the you are what you eat quite literally here. When Goodstab chooses to hunt only the white enemies of his people, he finds himself slowly becoming one. What a nightmare. I woke up and I was becoming a white man.
Yeah, the people that are literally murdering my family. Yeah, exactly.
Please don't. Yeah. Turn me into a fish. What? Yeah, I think it was such when you realize that.
Yeah,
because he's growing his hair. He's growing like a beard. I was like, oh no. Now you can only eat your own.
Like extra.
That's insane. It's a really unique twist. Yeah, and it's a heartbreaking one. Because of that, like to keep himself, he has to hurt others. And I think that's there's a lot of layers to that as well. But Goodstab's confession, or more his condemnation of the American settlers, is a haunting tour through history, like I said. Through him, we see firsthand the atrocities of this nation, the annihilation of the buffalo, the genocide of Native peoples, and the erasure of that truth. I think in that final scene, one of the final scenes at the end, where he says you can't stop a country. Arthur says you can't stop a country from happening, and then Goodstab says we were already a nation, and I was crying. I was sobbing. I was like, are you kidding me? And that's the beauty that we're talking about. Like there's these lines that will stick with you in the midst of just pure heartbreak and horror. And what's worse is it's all real. Right? Besides the fact that there's a vampire that's telling the story and that we get some form of retribution, those are the only supernatural, fantastical things that are happening in the story. The rest of it is true as hell. Not just the nation overall that's put on trial in this story, but it's both Goodstab and the good pastor Arthur who have much to answer for. SGJ offers us an amiable, sweet-toothed, kind-hearted man with an incredible knack for storytelling in Arthur. Etsy, comments that he's really good at being descriptive. And he just got away with words. And he'd just be talking to people. And he's just so, kind. In Good Stab, we find heartbreaking pride and a sense of immense loss, like internally, culturally, and environmentally. He's losing everything, always. But it's in their meeting and intimate confessions that they're revealed as complex monsters that they are, in stark contrast to one another, but equally dark and troubled. Good Stab is a phenomenal storyteller, keeping his people's history alive in himself and at the expense of himself, right? No matter the torture and pain that it brings upon him. And SGJ offers up some of the most haunting history I've ever read. And as we come to the end of Good Stab's confession, it becomes vibrantly clear that it is instead an accusation against Arthur. Our jovial man of the cloth has a hideous dark secret. And it says a lot about that. That a literal blood-sucking monster is infinitely more forgivable than a man of God.
Yeah.
Right? And there were moments in Good Stab's history and his struggle. Like, he's been struggling the whole time. Catman is so sinister. And he's just trying. Like, his whole scene with his dad, I'll be sad forever. Like, even before you get to because it hurts the whole way through, and you're like, what could possibly be the big thing that he's building up to and that he hates this man about? Because you start to pick up, you're like, he's hiding something. Like, there's a reason Good Stab's coming to you, and you're being sus, and you're holding back, and you hold back all the way to the very end, and you're like, there can't, what could it possibly be? And then it's the worst thing you've ever read. And you're like, wait, it's worse because that's actually something that happened. And if you know anything about America's history, then of course you see this coming, but it still hits because SGJ has so skillfully humanized this pastor. After following and warming up to Arthur, while also feeling so intensely for Good Stab's troubled life, those final chapters feel like a knife to the gut. In The Buffalo Hunter, SGJ is bleeding out this history, revealing a seething wound that's never been healed, only covered up. And I am once again reeling from the intensity, emotion, and grief. And I just, do yourself a favor and read some Stephen Graham Jones. You will not regret it. It's going to change your life.
No, literally, endless, the words that you will read, as you said, will forever change you. You will just be so impacted by them. And I remember at the end of The Only Good Indians, I cried just because I was like, oh, thank God there's hope. And then at the end of this one, I didn't have time to cry because it was literally for this episode. But there had been other moments where it was just like, oh my God. I remember I texted you literally right before. It was like, for pudding?
Yeah.
Are we for...
Right.
Oh, I hate it here.
Right.
I was like, I could so see someone, if we think of capitalism and the way we're willing to sacrifice the cost of our production and detach ourselves so fully that it's just the way capitalism and America specifically dehumanizes things, that it's just absolutely this, there's no doubt in my mind that this man did this for pudding, because of course his needs matter more because he doesn't view these people as human. And I was
America stay murdering people for pudding. A let them eat cake kind of moment. That's exactly it. And I think it is in those moments too where Good Stab confronts him too, because he's like, oh, are you mad? Are you upset that these white people are dead? Because newsflash, I don't give a fuck.
No, literally.
And he's just like, do you hear yourself right now? There's some moments where I feel like Good Stab's be fucking for real. Are you not? You don't hear that? You don't hear that? No? Okay.
Yeah, the racism
what
in
you
there,
did
you
is
don't
crazy.
see.
And then you're walking around here and you're like, I'm gonna eat this little biscuit from this old lady.
Yeah, and the way you justify it and have such peace in your life. You cried about it for a few years and you drank for, but I get if you made a mistake and did a bad thing and to an extent, obviously you can be forgiven, but I think the depth for which he did a bad thing is you cannot just be walking around eating cake and saying life's great.
You do not get to not rest. You do not get to rest. You do not get to
and you feel you've just accepted it. You're like, well, it had to happen. It's it did not.
The whole time he was a man of cloth. The whole time.
the hypocrisy, which is
America, right? I think I think he did a really brilliant.
It's on purpose.
Yeah, that's what I think is
Yeah.
in the Buffalo Hunter by writing Arthur Barkarn as the way that he did, and having him be like kind of like a friendly, caring guy for so much of it. Like it really, I think, was a brilliant representation of what was happening back then, right? Like you have like this, like the representation of like, you know, the savages, right? With good stab, who is like everyone's afraid of him. And he's done monstrous things like to survive, right? And so they like, you know, the whole time you're expecting him to have this confession and that he's evil or something. And then it's like, oh, surprise. It was this kind man, you know, with his little sugary desserts.
And it like forces, I think, America to like see themselves in the mirror kind of thing. Like where it's like, you liked him and you do this to people all around you. You forgive these little things that are not little things. Like you let things slide because you think like, oh, they're good or they're kind or whatever. It's like, but they've done monstrous things. Like, and it's like, yes, obviously we see in the Only Good Indians, like some monstrous things. Sometimes it's just like a cyclical vengeance-y time and you need to let stuff rock. But some monstrous things are a level of just like, no, what do you mean? Yeah.
Even like
that it just can't.
Yeah, like, and I would even say like comparing like the murder of all the elk in Only Good Indians versus like just the historical retelling of what happened to the buffalo. Like the idea of like luring them off cliffs. Like what? And they have a similar thing too, like the elk being sketchy around train tracks, right? Like there's so much of that like sinister to animals that's like almost like a soft opening for like, oh, but just wait till you see what they did to the people, to the other humans.
Yeah. Whole thing. But let's learn about Stephen Graham Jones, the human being. So I'll be discussing Stephen Graham Jones, another amazing author in our author series. Like River Solomon, there is a poetry to how he writes and conveys history through horror, and I'll be unpacking a bit of his own history and his life and journey into becoming an author. So first, I'm going to give a big shout out because I was texting about this with Gabe because I was like, oh my God, this is the best, most thorough website I have ever seen. And as a content creator, this website was a dream because it was a one-stop spot for everything you could ever hope to know about him. So I just wanted to shout that out because half the battle of our show is trying to scrounge through the internet to find the info we're looking for, usually fighting against paywalls or clickbait to do so. So the level to which I was geeking out that everything was in one place and how that made our research process so much more straightforward. Just want to say
hopefully
kudos.
One day we'll be on there.
Yeah. He'll hear our review.
Put us in there.
Look at it. Yeah. And something that was really cool about his websites, I recommend checking it out, is that it's so much just written by him. If you want to like get a sense of his vibe, hear his voice and all of that, like it's all from his perspective. He's just so authentic in the presentation of it. Like he just says words, like all his unfiltered thoughts. It's not like polished, like like someone who's your editor or something for your book writing, like he wrote all of this stuff. It's like his own little like social media of sorts. So it's like very cool just like to kind of get a sense of who he is as a person and like kind of have access to that because I feel like you usually wouldn't. I know when we were looking for a lot of our other authors, it was like interviews and short blurbs about them, but they were all like kind of detached from their own voice, with the exception I think of Tananarive Du, who had like actually written like an article about herself in like the book, but like reading his stuff felt so personal and it was just very cool. And he wrote his own bio that he's like, use this for stuff. So I'm going to. And on his website, he outlines his bio, which I'll read for you now. Stephen Graham Jones is a New York Times bestselling author of 35 or so novels and collections, and there's some novellas and comic books in there as well. Stephen's been an NEA recipient, has won the Texas Institute of Letters Award for Fiction, the Los Angeles Times Bay Bradbury, Bradbury Prize, and the Mark Twain American Voice in Literature Award, the August Derleth British Fantasy Award for Best Horror Novel, the Independent Publishers Award for Multicultural Fiction, a lot of them, the Western Literature Association Distinguished Achievement Award, the American Library Association's RUSA Award, and Alex Award, and the 2023 American Indian Festival of Words Writers Award, the Locus Award, 4 Bram Stoker Awards, 3 Shirley Jackson Awards, and 6 This Is Horror Awards. So obviously very well receiving the accolades. He's written a lot of books, so, and all of them are amazing. So of course that's going to come with the territory. Stephen's also been inducted into the Texas Literary Hall of Fame and has been a finalist for the World Fantasy Award, the Eisner Award, and he's made the Bloody Disgusting's top 10 horror novels, been a New York Times book club selection, and been on Barack Obama's summer reading list. He's the guy who wrote Mongrels, The Only Good Indians, My Heart is a Chainsaw, Earth Divers, I Was a Teenage Slasher, The Buffalo Hunter, and Killer on the Road. And Stephen currently lives in Boulder, Colorado. I'll be transparent. I've only read 2 of his books, specifically The Only Good Indians and The Buffalo Hunter. And I'm very excited to keep going and read even more of his work, especially since there's such a vast library to explore. And I fully suggest you do the same. A little about his life. I'll be pulling this information specifically from Stephen Graham Jones' Facts for Kids, just because it was so straightforward. I was like, you can't go wrong. This is like the bare basics of all of his life. So I figured it was kind of perfect. So Stephen Graham Jones was born on January 22nd in 1972, which means he's an Aquarius, I'm pretty sure. He's an official member of the Blackfeet tribe of the Blackfeet Indian Reservation of Montana and is a talented Native American author. The genre he usually writes in are horror, crime, and science fiction. In his professional career, he's also a professor and teaches English at the University of Colorado, which he's been working at since 2008. For his early life, he was born in Midland, Texas, to parents Dennis Jones and Rebecca Graham. So combining the 2 last names of his parents, which is also just like what an epic name too. He just has like a cool,
very Latin of him to keep simple.
It's very cool. Like many authors, he loved reading from a young age and started reading a lot extra at 11 years old. His childhood dream was to be a farmer, and in his youth, never thought he would become a teacher or a writer. He really thought like he'd do like a physical job. And his experience at college encouraged him to want to keep studying. Specifically, he earned his first degree, a Bachelor of Arts in English and Philosophy, in 1994 from Texas Tech University. He continued his education and went for a Master's of Arts in English from the University of Northern Texas in 1996. And in 1998, he finished his PhD from Florida State University. Still, he thought he would have a physical job. He was like, I got a PhD, bye. I'm going to go work at this warehouse in Texas. But unfortunately, and I guess fortunately for us, because it transitioned him into being a writer, but also it's sad when someone gets hurt. He suffered a back injury, which forced a switch to a desk job, and thus transitioned to working at the Library of Texas Tech University, and his work at the library transitioned into teaching there. So, while it was not a planned exodus from physical work, he's done amazing things with that transition. It's like you think of Love is Blind, Alex, and how he just couldn't cope with not playing soccer anymore. And it's like,
get your life together, buddy.
Do a different thing. It's okay. Obviously grieve, but like move on. And not to compare them. But like he pivoted and did a great job of it, essentially. So when it came to beginning his writing journey, he had met an editor during his time at Florida State named Jane Silver, who was from Houghton Mifflin, and they met at a writing conference and got to talking about a novel idea that Jones has had. He hadn't written it yet, but Silver liked the idea, so Jones wrote the book, and the book was titled The Fast Red Road, which was his first published novel in 2000. His next book, All the Beautiful Sinners, came out in 2003, and the rest is history, as it is obvious he kept writing and writing and writing all the amazing novels we know today. as I said earlier, there's a poetry to how he writes, and it makes all, at least the two that I've read so far, feel deeply personal. It feels like he's writing to you, like in a like personal way. Like you just feel very much like it's real and like you're reading someone's diary, but like also it's like a letter.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like
you're in the
very
room
intentionally.
with him.
Yeah, absolutely. And he describes his own writing style as unique, using dark themes and playful in a playful way, which I think Gabe would definitely agree with the ow comedy that
like
he
I'm so
kind of
sorry.
embraces.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing.
I want to say the intrusive thoughts, and we're all going to laugh a little bit while we're crying, and it's good. It's cathartic and healing. In terms of inspiration, Jones calls out Louis L'Amour, saying his novels helped him become a writer. He describes L'Amour's old Western stories as part of his DNA as a writer, and describes his own stories as Native American Gothic that uses fantasy, science fiction, and horror all together. Something unique about his presentation is that the themes presented in his novels are very much based in true history, which in itself is horrific. It's like kind of like Tananarive, where you're like, wow, Haints are scary, but it's like, it's even scarier people. Right. And it's very much that throughout. So to balance this, he will lean into adding strangeness and humor to the stories to kind of ease the tension of the reality and how heavy that reality feels. As for his family life, SGJ is married with 2 children. His wife's name is Nancy, and they married on May 20th, 1995. Together, they live in Boulder, Colorado, where Jones teaches at the University of Colorado. He takes trips to northern Montana, which should sound relevant if you've read the book, because it takes place in Montana. He goes there in July and attends the Blackfeet Nation powwow. In November, he goes for a yearly Montana Blackfeet elk hunts, and the annual elk hunt actually inspired the novel The Only Good Indians. So why does he write? He writes a lot and writes amazing things. Why does he do it? He says, why write? Because I can't help it. So I pulled this from the blog, Why I Write, a piece by Stephen Graham Jones. So again, just in his own voice, you get to kind of hear some of the cadence. So why does Stephen Graham Jones write? It's interesting, especially since he never imagined that life for himself growing up. But in finding that path, it seems to have become an inevitability for him, something he cannot help but do. And that's what we hope all jobs can eventually be, if we must be forced to do them, He says, I write because I can't draw. I write because I can't cut to the basket slick enough to go pro. I write because I eat too many sixlets and drink too much tea and my fingers get all jittery and I have to put them somewhere. I write because for a few pages at a time, I can make the world make sense. Poetry. Even like his blog, I'm like, this is art. In this writing has become something he cannot help but do, but also it is something that brings him peace and makes him feel connected to something necessary. While he may have initially fallen into it through his love of education and a back injury that changed his trajectory, he has built something beautiful and unique in that space. And it seems like something that brings him peace and keeps him from restlessness, which I think is relatable as well. He creates what he does not see in the world. So he continues and he says, I write because a lot of what I write because a lot of what I read disappoints me. I write because a lot of what I read intimidates me. I write because I'm jealous. I write because I'll drive my wife out of the house if I have to follow her around, tell her all the stories in my head. I write because I think sometimes that I know the truth, not to say it, but how it feels. And I can sometimes glance off that if I'm not paying too much attention. I write because there's nothing more honest that I can think of. And I think that comes across in his books and also on his website. His perspective is unique and only something he can create and share, and is so honest and is something so important. So in a capitalistic world that takes so much and forces us to sacrifice our creativity for survival, it seems like an inherently revolutionary field of work. Your history has been robbed of you. Right. Yeah. It is such a brave and powerful thing to decide to tell a story, preserve a piece of yourself in history and writing. And in a world that has tried to erase the personhood of so many, but specifically the Native populations in the Americas, to preserve your personhood is so rebellious and important. So he continues, I write because it's not work. I write because I want more toys. I write because I don't know what to say to people I know and love in prison, but I can send them books. I write because I love roller coasters. I don't write because I want to live forever. I write because I want to live now. I write because a teacher once read one of my pages, looked at me like maybe. I write because all the rest of the teachers didn't even look at my pages before deciding about me. I write for revenge. I write because books are legal and other things aren't. And there's even more. I didn't include all of it just because I was like, then I'm just reading this entire blog post.
So
like
just
you
hit
can go read
play.
yourself. But like, it was so good. And I was like, even this is poetry. I can't. Which we're geeking a lot. But another thing of note that's pretty cool is he features a nonprofit on his website, which I wanted to highlight. So in the hopes to boost it and that people will go look at it and donate to it. But it's called the Firekeeper Alliance. It's a 501c3 suicide prevention and mental health nonprofit organization serving community members within the Blackfeet Nation. Firekeepers provides strength-based counseling support and delivers creative, cultural, and music-based programming designed to promote healthy coping strategies, emotional regulation, and community connection. So if you would like to support the Firekeeper Alliance, there's a link in our blog, and I highly recommend. So
yeah, and it's like, I think an organization like that is to help maybe prevent the fate of Ricky's, Lewis's, Cass's, and Gabe's out there. Because it's like there's like we really get like a glimpse of the res in The Only Good Indians, but it's a really like deep glimpse, like we're seeing these people and a little bit of the desolation of it, I would say, and like that like small community, like where you're stuck, right? And I think that's really pure, and I learned a lot through that. I learned a lot about like indigenous cultures and connections in history through a lot of his work. And it's like you said in previous episodes, right? Like sometimes we have to write, it has to be written in this like fantastical narrative way to make the real hard history something that is digestible, something that we're like separated enough from but close enough to like still feel, and but not let it overtake us. And it's like it does a justice to history in lives that have been otherwise dismissed or ignored or just annihilated. And this country has like a history of that, like of like what they say, like history is written by the winners or whatever, and
the victors.
They want us to believe that those things aren't real. They're taking them out of history books. And so if we could keep books like this where they're especially in horror that's like getting dismissed and not like valued as much, then it flows under the radar and people are able to learn and maybe do something about it, or at least like now it's known. I think just having it known is really important.
It's an important first step for sure. They say like the first step is like learning, and then there's the action pieces that will hopefully follow. And yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying. Like in terms of the Firekeeper Alliance, like if not for the Ponoka, like you just have a domino circumstance, desperation. Like she just sets it up,
right?
And then like they do all the work, they do all the horror, like society and the systems do the murdering, like it's she just kind of stands there and watches it happen. The only one she actually like kind of goes after is Denora.
She definitely is like,
and it's like
poking at like a sensitive bruise on everybody.
And like so it's those things without her there are just like really unfortunate and like awful circumstances that domino affected into the loss of these lives. So it's like the reality of that is that there is a large population of people who suffer from the mental health weight of what America has done to the Native population, and unfortunately does result into suicide and loss of life. So
I do think
they're doing important work ultimately. So I
think of like the headlines that Lewis would think through, and the one that actually is like the chapter for Ricky is that headline, all caps. And the fact that Lewis would think of that, because they all are just headlines and they're believed. Like no one really understands that there's like even with this folklore embedded in their society, like no one really believes in Ponoka. Like they're thinking like, of course, yeah, you know, Ricky, of course he was murdered outside
that
a
just
bar.
happened.
And
that
Lewis
just did
like
it.
flipped because he was already kind of weird because he married a white woman and he tried to leave and he got tangled up, you know, with the Crow woman. And like now we have like Cass and Gabe who've been stuck here on this res, and there's been a, you know, fermenting of like their distrust, and they're like they blame each other for some of the things that have gone wrong, and they're also stuck to each other, and so they can't like, there's like a fear of being like disentangled because they're the only two left, and so much of who they are is their history together, is that solid group. So yeah, I think like like you're saying, like, yeah, Ponoka is there, but she's not, you know, like in the reality of the situation, it's just like a series of unfortunate events that are very unfortunately believed. Yeah. Shout out to Etsy Bookar.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Good Stab. Straight up. Yeah. He man, the end of that.
The entire time I was like, I get it. Like, I'd be so like, I love my grandpa with everything within me. He is the reason I'm still here today. But if I found out, I'd be like, oh, that's
right.
Well, you did one good thing. That's great.
I'm sorry.
Ow.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, like there's no like he was like Good Stab was right.
She's like, you know what, it'll die with me, and that's probably best. She's like, you know what, you're welcome. I just got a cat, and that's wonderful. Yeah, I think that, and I just think like, wow, what a just
so like it was so real.
Yeah, what an inventive way to deal with the monsters like of your life. Like Good Stab dealing with both the Catman and Arthur was like big brain, and he's just like, now I can go. It was Mike, mic drop, you know? And I think that's really great. And it's, he really roughs you up and you feel for it. There's a shorter story called Night of the Mannequins. It's really short, and I remember being really pissed at the end because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. This, like, it was brilliant. Like, it was real, like, I was not expecting it, and then it happens, and I'm like, this whole time? What? Why? You're like, what did you do to me? Like, where did you come up with this idea? Yeah. You know, and it is one of those moments where sometimes I'm like, I'm glad you became a writer. Because what were these stories doing in there?
Because ow. No, it's
what are you gonna do with those?
Yeah. It's so ow.
It's ow, and it's necessary.
And it's also like, the generational trauma, and like a lot of it's like healing generational trauma, and like what our body remembers, and like what the fact that deer remember that trains are scary, not because they had a personal experience with trains, but they were like genocided. And like now their body remembers that now we gotta be scared of that. Like it's so
or like Good Stab's real. Buffalo, who like loves him and trusted him, and so therefore trusted another, and it brought about his death. Like that is like there's that too. Like there's so much.
That was one of I cried because of that. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Give this man a break. There's like 7 times of crying.
Everything he loves.
There's like him talking to his dad. Yeah. There's that. There's obviously the ending, and even when he's talking to the boy, the young one in the fire.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think it's that like his like rejection from his culture is one of the most heartbreaking things. Is like he can't go back and like that horror
and like do the thing.
The horror of like he can't do it. Like he's not he can never go back.
He can't ride a horse.
He can never be full himself, and he's like let everybody down. Yeah. It's like
oh my god.
Thick. There's so much story. But it felt like it was like 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Like, I didn't even realize it was long.
That's good. That's a good story.
And that's like so rarely happens to me where I'm like, how much book is left?
Yeah. I'm feeling that right now in the book. I'm like, I don't even know if I remember anything I'm reading.
But I feel like every book that we've picked for like, or you picked, producer, Brett, for this series, like, was so spot on. And like, I know not all books are going to be like this, but the standard has been set so high for everything I read going forward. Where I'm like, I think I just stay with these authors until something happens.
Just
until you show me a new one.
You follow me, Basuda Book Babe. You follow. They will usher you into a whole new world of literary brilliance.
Oh a fantastic plug for your personal content.
But I hope you liked this episode and you like this series. I think we get a lot of love for the It Is Written series. Let us know if you tried out an author that maybe you were on the fence about, or if you like Stephen Graham Jones, tell me what your favorite book is and why. If you got recommendations of his 30 plus novels, like what's up? What do you got? I want to read them. They're on my. I have Killer in the Road. I finished The Babysitter Lives, so I have Killer in the Road. That's my next one.
Okay.
But yeah, just like I'm on it all the time. So let us know. Remember to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all those fun things to keep us, support us. We got some cool things coming up, so make sure you're following us on social media, different events, conversations with local authors, things like that, at local comic shops. I feel like Stephen Graham Jones is like that. And Stephen, if you're out there, please be my friend. Or just, like, can you just do a little voice recording where you say something nice? I just keep that for my life. But in like a not weird,
a life goal
uncomfortable
now
way.
achieved. Yeah. Yeah. It's like, you guys did a good episode.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for liking my books.
Oh my gosh, that'd be great. I hope we did a good job.
And then
I would cry.
Frame it. I don't know.
And that's our show.
Oh, we need a new phrase. Yeah, that's our show.
That's it. Bye.